Hey, nurse. Yeah, you. The one who's been running on caffeine, compassion, and a whisper of faith. You've bandaged wounds, held trembling hands, and fought through exhaustion with a tired smile. But lately, it feels like your soul's running on empty, doesn't it? Maybe you've even wondered if God still sees you in the chaos of your shifts, the alarms, the endless charts, the prayers whispered in supply closets. Here's the truth that might sound counterintuitive. God hasn't forgotten your calling, but maybe He's been waiting for you to remember it. Let's be real. Modern healthcare can break even the strongest spirits. You became a nurse because you felt called to heal, to bring light where others see only pain. But somewhere between back-to-back shifts, patient losses, and emotional fatigue, that sacred spark dimmed. Burnout snuck in like a thief. You started questioning if your faith still fits in scrubs. Yet what if that weariness is not a sign that you've lost your purpose, but an invitation to rediscover it? What if this season of exhaustion is actually the soil where God is planting something new, something deeply spiritual? So if you've ever felt unseen, if you've prayed mid-shift wondering whether God still moves through your hands, this message is for you. Because nursing isn't just a job, it's ministry in motion. It's the heartbeat of faith in healthcare. Today, we're diving deep into how God restores purpose, how prayer can heal caregivers, and how spiritual encouragement can breathe new life into your calling. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see that your uniform isn't just fabric, it's armor. When the calling feels heavy, rediscovering the heart behind the work. There comes a moment in every nurse's journey when the calling that once felt divine starts to feel like a burden. You clock in with a prayer on your lips but leave feeling like your spirit's been drained. It's not that your faith disappeared, it's that your heart's been buried under layers of charts, policies, and exhaustion. Many Christian nurses silently wrestle with guilt, wondering why God's calling for nurses feels so heavy. But what if that heaviness isn't punishment? It's a sacred reminder that you were never meant to carry it all alone. Think about this. Even Jesus withdrew to rest and pray. Yet so many faith-driven healthcare professionals push through burnout as if rest equals weakness. That's one of the greatest lies in the medical field. True strength isn't found in endless sacrifice. It's found in balance, in prayer, in trusting God at work. A simple practice could change everything. Before stepping onto the unit, whisper, "Lord, use my hands, but sustain my heart." That tiny prayer can anchor your spirit when everything else feels chaotic. When you reconnect your faith with your work, the meaning begins to return. Suddenly, tasks stop being chores and start becoming moments of ministry. Charting becomes gratitude, a patient smile becomes worship. This is the quiet revival of faith for healthcare workers. And yet, there's still a deeper layer to this, because understanding your purpose doesn't just restore your energy, it transforms your perspective. And that's where the next truth comes in. The silent battle, healing the healer. Behind every nurse's steady hands lies a storm of emotions few ever see. You've comforted families, celebrated recoveries, and grieved in silence for the ones you couldn't save. Yet while you pour healing into others, who pours healing into you? Many Christian nurses face this quiet war, smiling on the outside while their souls whisper, "I'm not okay." Nurse burnout recovery isn't just about mental rest, it's about spiritual renewal. It's about letting God touch the wounds you've hidden under your scrubs. You see, nurses are experts in caring, but beginners in receiving care. But healing the healer means learning to slow down, breathe, and bring your pain to the one who understands it fully. Maybe that looks like journaling your prayers after a rough shift, or finding a faith in healthcare small group that meets once a week. Or maybe it's simply allowing yourself to cry during worship instead of pretending to be strong. Spiritual burnout recovery begins not with performance but with permission, to be human, to rest, to feel. Here's the beautiful irony. When you finally admit your need for healing, God restores your capacity to heal others. The compassion that once felt drained starts to overflow again. Your job doesn't change, but your heart posture does. You're no longer surviving, you're ministering from a place of wholeness. And once you begin to experience that divine renewal, something deeper stirs within you. a quiet reminder that this work was never about you alone. It was always about partnership. Partnering with God in every shift. Every nurse knows the rhythm, the beeping monitors, the call lights, the endless to-do lists. But what if you saw every moment not as a task list to survive, but as a divine partnership in motion? Nursing, at its core, is a collaboration with the great healer himself. When a Christian nurse walks into a patient's room, she doesn't just bring medicine, she brings God's presence. Faith in healthcare means realizing that you're not just following doctor's orders, you're following divine direction. Consider this. That patient you comforted at 3 a.m., maybe God positioned you there because your voice was the one their spirit needed to hear. That coworker who snapped at you? Maybe your grace is their first glimpse of God's love in weeks. Every small act of kindness, every prayer whispered in the break room becomes part of a much bigger story. God and nursing intertwining in the sacred space between science and spirit. This is healthcare ministry in its purest form. When you start your shift with the mindset, Lord, let me see what you see, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Tasks become testimonies. Even mistakes become moments of growth. Partnering with God doesn't mean you'll have perfect days. It means you'll never face them alone. And when that realization truly sinks in, a new kind of confidence begins to rise. A quiet but powerful certainty that your calling is bigger than your badge. But to fully walk in that truth, there's one more step. Learning how to find purpose again when the noise of the world tries to drown it out. Finding purpose again. When routine becomes sacred. It's easy for nurses to feel like every day is just a loop. Chart, check, care, repeat. But purpose isn't found in escaping the routine. It's found in seeing God within it. When a Christian nurse understands that even mundane moments can carry eternal weight, everything shifts. That daily repetition becomes a rhythm of worship. Finding purpose in nursing often begins with a simple mindset change, from "I have to do this" to "I get to serve here." Suddenly, every heartbeat you monitor, every wound you clean, becomes part of God's plan for your career. Think about Florence Nightingale. Her lamp wasn't just a light, it was a symbol of purpose in the darkest places. You too carry that light. Maybe it's through a smile that softens a patient's fear, or through prayer for nurses whispered before dawn. Purpose doesn't require perfection, it requires presence. When you start to view your work as a sacred space, God transforms your shift into a sanctuary. That's how faith-based motivation revives even the most exhausted hearts. But here's something few talk about. Purpose needs protection. The same way you protect your patient's health, you must guard your own nurse mental health. Set boundaries. Rest without guilt. Talk to a mentor who understands Christian healthcare professionals and the unique emotional weight they carry. Because when your purpose is protected, your calling flourishes. And as that purpose reignites, something beautiful starts to happen. Hope begins to overflow, not just for you, but for everyone you care for. And that leads us straight into what might be the most important part of all. Hope that heals. Living your calling with faith and joy. When hope fades, even the strongest nurse can lose their spark. But when faith returns, everything changes. Your pace, your patience, your peace. Hope for healthcare workers isn't found in perfect conditions. It's found in trusting God right where you stand. When you show up to work believing that God restores purpose, every challenge becomes an opportunity for grace. This is where Christian nurse encouragement transforms exhaustion into empowerment. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Use me." Think of the nurse who starts her day with a short prayer for nurses. "Lord, let me bring healing today, not just to bodies, but to hearts." That single sentence recenters her spirit. Throughout her shift, she catches herself smiling again, not because it's easy, but because she's walking in alignment with God's calling for nurses. The patients notice, the co-workers feel it. That quiet, joyful strength becomes contagious. That's the miracle of faith-based motivation. It spreads light without shouting. And here's the best part. When you live from this renewed place, nursing stops feeling like a constant uphill climb. You become a carrier of calm in chaos, a living devotional in motion. You embody trusting God at work, even when the system feels broken. Your career becomes your ministry, your every breath a testimony of resilience. And as this hope takes root, It leads to something greater than endurance. It leads to joy, the kind that can't be shaken. But before you step fully into that joy, there's one final truth to hold on to. Dear nurse, take a breath. You've walked through long nights, heavy hearts, and sacred moments few will ever understand. But now you know the truth. God hasn't forgotten your calling. In fact, He's been right there in the hospital halls, the clinic corners, the whispered prayers between patients. Your uniform isn't just work attire, it's a symbol of divine purpose. You are part of something eternal. Healing for caregivers, hope for healthcare workers, faith in healthcare made visible. So here's the question only you can answer. Will you keep carrying the weight alone, or will you let God carry it with you? Will you trust that His plan for your career still stands, even when the world feels chaotic? You've seen enough brokenness to know how much the world needs light, but that light begins inside you. Let Him renew your spirit. Let Him remind you that your heart, your hands, your faith, they still matter deeply. If this message spoke to you, don't just let it fade. Take action. Start your next shift with prayer. Write down what you're grateful for. Share this video with another nurse who needs to hear it. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a word of encouragement. Because your faith, your story, and your calling are far from over. God's still writing your next chapter, one shift, one prayer, one heartbeat at a time.